as it relates to domestic violence?
All right. So I was married for approximately 10 years. And I met my ex-husband at a pretty young age, when I was about 16.
Right.
And he was basically my first love. So I kind of grew with him. We had our first child when I was 20. Basically, right throughout my tertiary education, I had him there. And little things would happen because I was so young. I didn't have a sister, I had my mother, but my parents were happily married. So I wasn't exposed to violence. I wasn't exposed to anything like this. And to me, I didn't understand what was happening. And it didn't start with physical abuse. It started with more emotional abuse, withholding affection,
Right.
and then it gradually escalated to verbal abuse,
Uh,
where he would belittle me and demean me. And then I can distinctly remember the first time that he actually grabbed me by my throat. That was even before we were married. And I didn't think much of it. But the first time he actually hit me. I was pregnant. I just found out that I was pregnant. And he hit me in my chest.
right.
I couldn't breathe when he hit me. And I don't know, I actually I think I was having a panic attack. I don't know. The next day, I lost the baby. I miscarried the day after. You know, but I think I was stunned. I wanted my marriage to work because we had a child already. I went through a lot in terms of infidelity, because abuse is a whole suite of issues. It's not just one issue. You have physical abuse, yes, but you also have verbal abuse, emotional abuse. I
Yes.
mean, he was so selfish that I had to go through instances where women would call my phone. He had other children outside. He had another child by then outside of the marriage. Another child. I mean, by the time we were married for 2 months, there were two other kids. I only had one child, which was the oldest.
Right.
And it just went downhill from there, because he was not even abusing me alone, but he was allowing other people to abuse me based on how he would basically demean me in front of them, like his family, his friends. He would talk so poorly of me that it's as though he was justifying his behavior. So basically, what he would do is strip me of my dignity. So everybody, basically, it was a situation where everybody thought I deserved it because he was stripping me of my dignity. So basically, um I didn't have anywhere to turn.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
So that's how it
no,
started.
and you said something that's important there, right? And when talking to a lot of women, they always say that it starts like with a little push or a little smack or a little tug, right? And then it gradually move into something else, like a slap in the face, and then it seems like it escalate into or morph itself into more abuse, like a push and a chuck and a slap and a box and a
Exactly.
kick. All right.
Exactly.
So when it initially started, did you try or even try to talk him out of letting it get to
The
the next
first
level?
the first time he actually outright hit me, I was so stunned I couldn't breathe. I was basically too stunned to react. I was out of it. And then he went away. And then 2 days later, he'd appear. Oh, he's so sorry. He's really sorry. The usual. He'd never do it again. And I mean, you basically felt as though, listen, this is a one time thing. He just snapped for a minute. It's not going to happen again.
Right.
you know and basically I didn't I was so young, I didn't know how to react, and I was ashamed, so I didn't even tell my mother. I didn't tell anybody. I remember trying various times to end the relationship, and then his family would intervene. There was a time when we actually separated, and his family would always intervene on his behalf
Right.
to get me back in the situation. You understand?
Yeah.
Basically, everybody would be begging for him, so to speak, because we have children. By the following year after that incident, I got pregnant shortly after we had our daughter, and so it got worse. When I was pregnant with our daughter, I went through a lot of abuse. I mean, it got to the point where I was suicidal. I actually found out that there was another woman pregnant for him the same time that I was pregnant for him. We had physical confrontations. I actually had to go and admit myself in the hospital when I was pregnant with our daughter, just to ensure that he wouldn't attack me. You understand? So I had to check myself in the hospital. They basically, a nurse assisted me by telling them that I was basically depressed. So I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks when I was about 6 to 7 months pregnant, just to get away. And these are the things I had to do to get away from him, because it was such a toxic environment, to the point that I actually got angry enough to start fighting back. I remember the first time that I actually fought back, I hit him with my car. You understand? He actually attacked me. We were driving in the vehicle,
Ah.
and he slapped me up and came out the car, threw out my stuff. And I was so angry that I actually lined him up with my car and ran him over. And I'm dead serious. That is when I actually start. I can safely say that's when I started fighting back. And every time he would attack me, I would fight back until literally I would basically attack him before he would attack me, because I'd see where he was getting angry, and so I would hit him off guard just to ensure that he wouldn't attack me. So it got to the point where I was fighting back.
So hold
You
on, hold
understand?
on, hold on. A lot was said there. Let me just hold up. Well, let's. Whew, okay. All right. When it's before it got to that point where it became so toxic that you was fighting him, he was fighting you, somebody would have killed somebody, and it looked as if he was heading that direction.
Yeah.
The $1 million question is, before it got to that point, why didn't you just leave?
I tried to leave, and he would always find me. Um, Even when I actually left him,
Uh-huh.
I tell the story all the time in terms of how I ended up getting to leave. I had to send him away. And when people hear the story of how I actually got him away, because after I'd moved out back in 2013, he everywhere he would see me, he would attack me. If he saw me on the road, he would literally attack me. There was an opportunity that came for me to go to Nigeria, and I offered him the opportunity and sent him to Nigeria, and that is how I got away from him, by sending him away from me. Because no matter what, everywhere he basically, it was like I was a possession, and no matter where I went, he would come for me. He would literally hunt me down. You understand? And then the whole cycle would continue. He would just call me. I mean, there would be days when he'd call my phone 40 times. There would be days when he'd be camped out. Like, I had another house in another parish.
Right.
And if I go there, when I was there, he would come there. At one point, I wouldn't let him in. He broke the window, things like that. So it's like he treated me like a possession. So no matter if I went to my parents' house, he would wait outside. So I couldn't even leave. I was like a prisoner there. So basically, he treated me like a possession. So at the end of it, when I decided that enough was enough in 2013, I had to plot an escape.
Ah.
I had mentally left him 6 months before I actually left him, moved out. And when I moved out and I thought that all would be okay, he still would attack me. At one point, my daughter does extracurricular activities, and there was one point that they asked, because I dance, and they asked me to help them with a dance routine, and he attacks me there because he knew I would be there. So he basically lay waited me and attacked me there. Another time I went somewhere with some friends, he saw me, he attacked me there. So he would wait until he saw me in public, and then he'd make a very public scene of it. So in the end, the only way I found to get away was to send him away. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's how I got out. And he was away for almost a year. And by the time he came back to Jamaica, basically I had dissolved everything. You understand? So when he came back there, he did try, but I had placed so many barriers in his way that I was inaccessible to him.
Right. Let's talk about the breaking down of a person's mental and physical state, right? Abusers, molesters, they set up some kind of they kind of disable the or break the connection between you and family so that you don't have that person that you
Exactly.
could go to and talk to. Did he break what was your relationship with your family, with your mother and your other family relatives?
I come from a very small family. My mother only has, my parents are married, and it's just two kids, me and a brother. So it was hard for him to come between my family and I. But he did it in such a way where it's almost as if, well, my father detested him from day one. My father actually cried when we got married. But um basically he was such a manipulator that I didn't even trust myself to tell them. I really and truly, I know they knew that we fought. We were always fighting,
Yeah.
but I didn't trust myself to tell them about the abuse because I was so ashamed. And I mean, I find that he would, for a while, I actually believed him that it was my fault because he would manipulate me in such a way, almost like brainwash, where I would think that he's attacking me because of something I did. It took me a while to get
Yeah.
out of the old side because, as I said, I was very young. I actually went through my entire adult life with this man, so almost as if I was brainwashed.
Yeah, and that is another thing. Now, what was his trigger? Before you get into that, let me just cue up everyone, guys. We're talking here with Kamala. She's in Jamaica right now, and she's telling her story about abuse, domestic abuse. Now, it happens in a lot of households. Sometimes it is so hush hush, and people don't talk about it. Is that you won't even know. So later we're going to look at some of the signs of how you could help someone that's going through this type of domestic violence. All right. Um, and again, it happens to young, it happens to old. Some people I feel like they're forced to stay in a relationship, stay because of
Yes.
stability, financial, and all of this other stuff. So there's a lot of different signs to look for. And a lot of people, even some of you watching us right now, if you were to really open up, you would find and tell the same story. Similar, I saw Lydia, somebody was saying earlier that, yeah, you're telling their story because they went through the same exact thing. All right.
Yes.
But when tell us about the second time that he publicly put his hands on you, and what was the trigger? What was his trigger that always made him want to hit you, especially in public?
He didn't publicly hit me. Um, it's only when we actually had a breaking up, like especially in the last part, that he hit me publicly. But he never publicly hit me. He would publicly humiliate me. But his trigger, he drank a lot,
Okay.
right? And of course, with the drinking come the womanizing. He would sleep out. And basically, his trigger would be, as he would say, I'm nagging him or I'm arguing. Because I mean, if I'm home and my husband doesn't come home, I'm going to ask questions. And so he would basically want to live as though we're not married, as though he's not obligated to say anything to me about, I mean, I'd have women calling my phone and things like that would actually, I would have to ask him about it. That
Right.
is when we fought. I remember one clear time when we fought is as though I am not supposed to try to tell him what he can or can't do. Like my at one point he was unemployed and I had the car because he sold his car, and I he's going to use my car and I can't do anything about it. And I tell him can't use my car. That started a fight. He actually pushed me down the stairs on that occasion. You understand? So basically, it was a control thing. So that if I tried to be like not give him what he wanted,
Yeah.
he would actually, it would be a trigger.
Yeah.
So if I had an issue with him sleeping out, if I had an issue when he said he wanted to use my car, he wanted to operate with impunity,
Right.
right? And once I left him alone to do what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it, he's fine because I'm just there. I'm the trophy wife. I'm just there. And he never hit me. He never hit me in my face. So that's the thing. He was very smart. It was always in my chest, or he's gonna push me down, or tap me on my arm, but he never hit my face.
Right.
That was one thing with him. The only time that I actually got a facial injury was when we fought because we had a physical confrontation, and I fought. And basically it was almost like a pound for pound, and that is the only time that he actually hit my face
Uh-huh.
and actually had to go to the hospital and get stitches. But
Wow.
apart from that, he kept the blows to the body.
All
He was
right.
very smart like that.
You
And
want to keep.
he did things like push me down the stairs. Push me down. He was very good at that. Pushing me down. He liked to push me or choke me. He was also he would use his elbow and choke me. You
Yeah.
know? So
How
those are the
did
things
how
that he
did
did.
how did all this fighting and like you guys was at war all the time? How did that affect your sexual life?
Basically, it became almost a situation where he'd force himself on me because after a while I simply did not want him to touch me because he was very promiscuous. He was very promiscuous, and I was at one point scared that he would infect me with something because it reached the point now where he didn't have one, he didn't have two, but he had three children during the marriage, and he was very promiscuous. Women were always calling, and then the women were always calling the phone. So at a point, I just didn't want him to touch me.
Yeah, but
But
Kamala,
he
but
would
you
come
knew
in
all
strong.
that stuff. You knew all that stuff. Like he had all these women. He was. You guys wasn't having any kind of good bedroom
It
relationship
would be very,
working.
it would be, it was cyclical because we'd like try to get, like at one point we got counseling and we tried. I remember after I had our second child, we tried to make it work, and it would be working for a while, and then you find out about another woman and it just go downhill. Because I did try to make my marriage work. There were occasions when I actually decided to say, okay, we're gonna, because we have the children. At one point, my concern was the children. I actually separated from my husband for 2 years straight already, from 2008 to 2010, right? And even to go back at that point,
Yeah.
he played on my emotions where the family unit and the children were concerned, that the children weren't doing well because we were separated. And eventually, how I got out of that was a friend of mine, my son, the eldest child, started displaying behavioral issues at school.
Right.
And the school said to us that, listen, you have to have him talk to somebody because some of these behavioral traits are not normal. And I got a friend of mine who was a behavioral psychologist to see him. And when she spoke to him, she said, no, something is seriously wrong. And she spoke to me and she said, no, you are living a dysfunctional life. And that is when I basically snapped.
Yeah.
It was like an instant wake up call. I tell this story all the time that I had a flat tire in a very bad neighborhood, and I called my husband. This was August 31st, 2013. I remember the date clearly. I called my husband to come and help me because I was in a very dangerous neighborhood in Spanish Town,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't know what to do. And he said to me on the phone that I'm a good looking woman, and he's certain there's a man, some man around that will help me, right? Approximately 10 minutes later, my husband drove past in his car, drove past me, didn't stop. He
Uh-huh.
had a woman in the car with him. His eyes made contact with my eyes. He saw me, I saw him, and he drove straight past me.
Mm.
That day was the end of my marriage. After that, I was mentally I checked out.
Mm. But and that's the question that a lot of people is asking. I just saw a psychologist, Jason Prendergrass, just came in. Welcome to the show, Jason. And guys, I'm also watching your chat, and we're going to open up the phone line shortly. But the question that I wanted to ask was, all of this stuff happening, the relationship is not working, you're fighting, there's no sex, he's promiscuous with other women, having kids all over the place. Why took you all that way, all inside, when you could, the reality of it? Why it took you so long before you decide to just get up and leave?
Shame. And as I said, I tried to leave on many occasions. The first time that I tried to leave, I was telling you about 2008 to 2010. My husband leaked explicit pictures of me when I left him. When he realized that I left him, he used to do things like that to control me. So he leaked explicit pictures, right, to shame me into going back. So basically, it's a situation, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. So he
Oh.
never necessarily used violence all the time. He would use a lot of emotional blackmail. At that point, I think that's the lowest point I've ever been in my life, that somebody could do this to me. I mean, he actually made my pictures viral on the internet. And I was employed in corporate Jamaica at the time. Lucky for me, I had a very understanding manager who I stuck it out, and I didn't lose my job. But it could have gone much worse, because that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to bring about my ruination. So basically, it's reached a point where it's like he is doing everything to ensure that I have to stay there. So it's
What
a
a
control
dog.
thing.
So he was holding that over your head. Like, if you ever
Yeah,
make a move on me, I'll leak the naked pictures.
yeah, and he did. You know, he did. And the irony is that I forgave him for that. I didn't have a choice at the time. I was now a single parent child, no, because basically there are
But why
three
you feel
children.
why you feel you didn't have a choice?
I felt alone. I felt
But what about your
I felt
family? What
alone.
about the strong relationship you had with your family, your father, your mother, your sister, your family?
And the thing about it is, you have a strong relationship with them, but you don't know how to talk to them. I've never felt, I had friends. I didn't know, I've never felt so alone as I felt at that point. Because people are, the thing is, when those pictures came out, people were saying, how dare you take those pictures? It wasn't about him leaking the pictures. It was, how dare I should not have taken the pictures in the first place. Not understanding that this was something between my husband and I. You understand?
What a
So
dog, though. Who
basically,
does that?
this was his way of showing that I'm not a good person. So let me, this is why this she basically, it's his way of showing that he's a better person than me. You
Right.
understand?
I'm reading the chat
So
room right here. I'm seeing that Belly's Shine is saying that it's not that easy, Junior. Trust me.
it's
So
not.
I get
I
it.
tried. I
It
tried. I tried. And as I said to you this last time, to get away, I mean, this, as I said, this man attacked me everywhere he saw me. If he saw me at a club, he would. The last time he fought, he actually nearly. I actually wrote a blog post about it on my page today. I think that's what your producer saw
Yeah.
and reached to me. The last time that we fought, we were separated. We were actually separated for over a month. We weren't living together. I was staying by my parents' house, and he saw me at a party with my friends, and he attacked me. He basically destroyed the dress that I was wearing in public. This is a public place.
Yeah.
In destroyed the dress that I was wearing, mash up my slippers, and by the time I got away, went to the car, he reached up to take the car key from me, and I kicked at him, and he held my foot and nearly severed he bit my toe, almost severed my toe.
He
You
bit your
understand?
toe?
Yeah, he bit my foot because I was kicking him, and he actually took my foot, bit my toe, my big toe. As I said to you, I'm a dancer. I was unable to dance for a while. The time when he actually pushed me down the stairs, I was on crutches because I had a dance injury that required surgery, and I didn't do the surgery, but I was on crutches, and he pushed me down the stairs with my crutches.
But forget what kind of man fight a woman. But what kind of man bite somebody's toe? Like,
He and when I think about it, he those are the things he did. So he wouldn't slap me in my face. So it wasn't even the classic signs of abuse where he's gonna thump you apart and him bite you, him push you, him strangle you. Those were the things that he did. You understand?
I
So
never heard that before.
yeah, he bit my toe. I mean, I still have that scar. I told my family that is a dog bite me.
So you were
You
still
understand?
making excuses for him after he did all that stuff. He
I
almost.
and we were separated, but then the thing is, everybody who was involved at that time knew that, who saw it, but I didn't want my children to know, and I didn't want my parents to know. So I told them that it was a dog that bit me, my children and my parents. In the end, though, when he came back to Jamaica after leaving Africa, it's my mother that had to intervene to prevent him from getting close, because he started calling me when he came back from Africa, threatening me, because basically he realized that we weren't moving back in together, because he thought that when him come back, it was business as usual. I had moved on by that time. And when he came back and he realized that, listen, it's not business as usual, him can't come to where I'm living, because he thought he would have moved in with me. He started stalking me and threatening me again. I mean, there was one day that I came out from a club with my friends and my tires were flat. You understand? He was, well, we know he was in there because we saw him. And when I came out, my tires were, and this is not one tire, this is my four tires. So we know somebody attacked me, my car. But these are the things that he did. And I mean, my mother had to be the one that called him and said, listen here, don't go near my daughter again. I think that is when he actually started backing off, when he realized that really and truly it's not me alone him tackling anymore, and him really not getting me back.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, what
that's
happened
fine.
here? The battery in the SUV, in the light that was shining on me, just popped. That loud song was a battery that just
Oh,
popped.
oh,
Make that very loud song. So we're out of a battery right now. So you guys gonna have to kind of work with me in the dark.
I'm still
Um,
seeing you though.
no, I am that. It was a scary, loud explosion. The battery that was shining on me, guys, it just exploded. I'm
Oh,
okay though.
wow,
I'm okay.
wow, wow.
Um, that that was light abuse. They call that light abuse. It it
but
happens.
but even now that I'm telling my story, he's been on my page because I decided, given all that is happening, I have a social media voice, and I decided to share my story. I've never once said who I was married to, so nobody would have known unless you knew me from before. But being on my page and hearing my story, if I didn't say who I didn't say at one point who I was married to.
Right.
And he came on my page and to he basically started to discredit my story. You understand? But thank God a lot of people realized from how he interacted that he had narcissistic tendencies. He started putting things out there about um, basically the things that I used to do. And he's not the only one. Basically, he was trying to excuse his behavior. He was trying, I guess people saw the fact, probably mutual friends saw the fact that I was speaking out, and
Yeah.
he didn't like it. So he still tried after 5 years to more or less have some say on what I do. But I'm at the point now where, for my own sanity, to move forward, it's something that I need to come to terms with. So when
Yes.
I speak about it, I'm more or less coming to terms with what I went through.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
understand? Right.
Now, when you look at this stuff in retrospect, right?
Yeah.
What was some of the things that you would advise women to look out for so you don't reach this far, you don't get to this point?
Basically, the first thing I would say is respect. If he doesn't respect you, if he treats him, this man always treated me like a possession, basically almost like a trophy, like something that was his and his alone, and nobody else should come near me because I was his. So I basically, he objectified me. So that's one thing I would say that women should look out for. Another thing is that when men start to verbally abuse you, just know that physical abuse is not far behind, because it's a spectrum. Abuse is a spectrum, and if he gets away with making you feel less than you are,
Right.
in terms of talking down to you, then it's gonna move to the point where it's gonna start cursing and telling you bad words and telling you, oh, him should have boxed you in your head. You fool, like things like that. Making you feel less than who you are. And then from there, that's when he starts to shake you. Not even at that point you don't start getting the physical abuse, as in the box and the well, as I said, my ex-husband didn't hit me in my face, but the shaking, the choking,
Yeah.
because as I say, I remember the choking. You understand? So it's a spectrum. So the first sign I would always say is if he treats you like a possession.
Yeah.
Men should have respect for women. So if there is no respect, it's just the beginning.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, the excuse, because I have a friend that her behavior, I realized that her behavior changed. Like, she used to call, we used to talk about all sorts of stuff, and then she just started to X out all her family members, like not talking to her family, not coming around, not doing anything
Definitely,
family and stuff like that. And in the back of my head, I'm saying, well, that
that's
looks,
definitely a sign.
that looks like a sign, right?
It is
How?
because they isolate you from your loved ones.
Yeah.
Basically, they put you in a situation where you are wholly and solely dependent on them. you know my situation was unique because it was hard for him to come between my family and I, but he
Right.
did try, you understand. So that is definitely a sign when basically they try to discredit your loved ones. Yeah, and or attach another sign to is they try to win over your friends from you. If you have if you have a friend and this man is competing with your friend for with you for your
For your
friend's
friend.
attention,
Yeah.
it's basically the same, you understand, because he wants to get as many people turned against you as
You.
possible because you are the enemy.
Yeah.
You understand.
Yeah.
His,
Yeah.
his whole aim is to make you the villain. Everybody hates you and you have nobody to turn to but him.
I wanna play back this video. I tried to play it back earlier, but we were having some problems, AV problems. I want to play it back now. You'll be able to hear it, but our viewers will be able to see it, and we'll talk about it on the other end. The manipulation that goes into the domestic abuse. Check it out.
Their family said looking, walk so. Turn around. Kneel long day. Kneel long. Hey, girl, I not talking and think too much, girl. Right? Do what I tell you, girl. And don't tell me fucking nothing, girl, because you like fuck up thing. And I do your fuck up thing because you're a wicked fucking girl. You understand? You feel like people now, boy. And you know you're a fucking madman. So what happened? Why you don't respect me? Why? Why? All I just ask you for is to respect me. Why does ask you for Elizabeth? So what is it? Why you can't respect fucking me? Why you ask you for?
My mother.
What?
Like my mother.
Yeah? So nice looking? Beautiful. Right?
Mama.
I know you didn't get a chance to see that video, but that was a case in Trinidad and Tobago where apparently that's his girlfriend of sorts, and he basically was caught. I think they arrested him today. That Venezuelan girlfriend or whatever, and he used to abuse that girl so bad, and that's the kind of manipulation you feel. It seems as if she was his property.
Exactly. That's exactly what you are. He objectifies you. You understand? Basically, you belong to him and nobody else can't look, but them can't come near you because you're film own. That's basically the bottom line. You belong to him. You're a property. You're like a car or jewelry.
Yeah.
You understand? You're just property.
Sad, sad. I know there's a lot of women that's watching the program right now. I know there's a lot of people that's watching the program right now, and they have either been through it personally, or they know someone who has gone
Exactly.
that has gone through it. Give us some advice, and as you go ahead and talk about some of the advice, I'm gonna open up the phone lines right now, guys. The number to call 718-701-5720. Let's talk live here, and let's hear your story. Let's hear some constructive things that we could do. Now, we also need to talk directly to the men, right? We also need to talk directly to the men that are doing this, right? It doesn't make a man stronger by abusing his wife, his girlfriend, or hitting any woman for that matter. It actually makes you weak. It actually makes you look weak. So for the men that's doing it, think about it. You have a mother, you have sisters, you have female members of your family. And I doubt that you would want anybody to do the same to the female members of your family. I want the men to just kind of take it in for a second. You was born from a woman. Take this in and think about it a little bit before you raise your hand and hit a woman. So your views now.
The thing is, I think that a lot of it is it's familial. A lot of men who abuse, turn around abuse, experience, witness abuse in the first place. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle because my ex-husband had brothers. He doesn't have any sisters. And he is not the only abusive one in his family. You
Aha.
understand? So it's clearly a culture. And so it's about breaking that culture.
Right.
And I personally am asking women to take responsibility for how you raise your children, your boy children and your girl children. You have to basically teach your girls what is good and what is bad, and what is respect, and how a man should treat you. We women have to impart that knowledge. Women also have to impart the knowledge of how a man should treat a woman. There are certain things that men can't pass on. There are certain things that only a woman can impart. So
Yeah.
we women have to step up to the plate and ensure that we don't raise these abusers. And another thing, with my ex-husband, his mother was basically, oh my God, it's like she excused everything that he did. It's like he could do no wrong. And that is part of the issue as well. Women need to stand with other women. I used to say it's because she don't have any daughters. That is why she allowed him to get away with all of these things. She doesn't understand what it is like to bond with a female, another female, because it's like she would basically uphold everything that was going on and beg for him. And so I couldn't understand why would a woman want another woman to be treated like this. But then probably I don't know if she went through it herself. I really don't know. The bottom line is I had to go through it and wonder. I mean, I remember being coached by her about how a virtuous woman is supposed to act, and um basically it's like turning the other cheek. But what women can do, women, what I would advise women to do is seek help, talk to other people,
Yeah.
look, build your circle, because he has isolated you from your circle. Him basically strip you down, him strip down your dignity, him strip down the very essence of your woman, of you being a woman. So the only way you are going to get what I had to do, I had to put myself back out there. I had to make myself feel like I'm a person that people can love me. I had to go and find a hobby. I was a dancer. I had been cut off from dancing because he had basically put me in a situation where I couldn't dance as I wanted to dance. And I went back out and I found myself. So I would advise, once a woman is going through this, you have to find yourself away from him, away from your children. You have to find back what makes you you, because basically if you don't, you're gonna go crazy, and you're gonna end up, because abuse is like a terminal illness. It reaches a point where it's gonna kill you. He's gonna kill you, or you are gonna kill him in retaliation, and the bottom line is it will not end well. So you have to get out while you can. So find yourself and talk to people. Don't be afraid to share it. It's a lot of shame. It's a lot of disgrace. As I said, now that I'm coming public with it, only my current spouse knew that I had gone through all of this because some of the things I would tell him. But nobody else knew until I decided to come public. Even if it's one person you're going to confide in, you have
Yeah,
to talk to
you
somebody,
have to talk.
because if you don't, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I think you should add, because if the first time he hit you, right,
Yeah,
you stood up to him as
right.
how you stood up to him later down, probably he'll never do it a second time.
Well, no, I disagree, because men are always physically stronger. So even if you stand up to him, the chances are is that he's going to overpower you eventually.
Yeah,
And there will come a time when, even if you're exchanging blow for blow, because even with me, I fought back. And even if you're exchanging blow by blow for blow, the thing is, the first time him do it, the best thing to do is leave.
yeah.
Right? I wouldn't advise you to fight back because you're just prolonging it.
Yeah,
If
but
you
but
don't
but
need to
but
fight, you don't
the
fight.
fact is there are a lot of men that would be in a relationship with a woman and fight and beat that woman, and they would split up with that woman, they would separate and go in a next relationship, and they would never hit that other woman. Is either
Exactly.
because
That is true.
is either
That is
because the woman won't tolerate it, and they know that that woman would not tolerate it, or they know if that woman, if they put the hand on the woman go put the hand back on them, same strength, or leave and take away everything.
the thing is, and that is why my situation is so paradoxical, because I'm a very strong woman. People looking at me would never assume that I was in that situation because I'm always outspoken. So sometimes we seem to think that a man wouldn't try this with certain people, but you really don't know. No, I don't think another man would ever dare try it, because I just don't put myself in that position. And you tend to choose, you tend to look for the qualities that you want to stay far from. No, but I don't know, because as I said to you, it's not abuse is a spectrum. So even if he's not physically abusing her, he may be abusing her in other ways. Because my ex-husband is a narcissist. I guarantee you he's suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. And I mean, he may not be physically abusive, but there is some abuse. And I mean, he doesn't only abuse his me. He didn't only abuse me. He abused the children in other ways, not
Yeah,
physically, but it's just an abusive person overall. So he's probably not abusing the children physically. He's probably not abusing his girlfriend physically. But there are other things that are happening because that's just his
I
personality.
believe that in a lot of cases, we had a show 2 weeks ago where we had an individual who went through a traumatic experience in his life, and then he went and exhibit that same trauma onto someone else. And the conclusion that we came to is, yeah, hurt people.
Exactly.
He had went through a period in his life, obviously or possibly, that he was that same type of behavior. He probably saw that behavior and probably didn't even like when somebody was probably abusing a family member of his, and he grew up with that same kind of anger and
And
pushing
that's
it
why I
on
worry.
somebody else.
That's why I worry, especially about my eldest child, my son, who is about to turn 18, because he was exposed to so much of it. I mean, no, I try to shield my other children, because I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old as well, and they would not have been exposed to as much. But I have had to ensure that my eldest child go through counseling, to just not to be scarred by all of that. Because, and I have to be, basically I have to smother that child with love,
Yeah,
to show that there does not need to be violence, or because he's gone through so much. That child has seen it all. He's been in the middle of the fights. I remember a little bit before we separate, that child, basically my ex-husband in a tirade slammed the door and burst the whole of the child's face, you understand? And
wow.
he was just standing there. So he's been through so much, and these are the things why abuse perpetuates, because the children witness it, they live it. And so this is how they think that they resolve their issues. So
Yeah.
no, it's how to break the cycle.
Yeah, we have Dion Betton said that the last day of my abuse was after he hit me and I used a box cutter and almost cut his finger off. Um, guys, listen, let's
I
not.
hit my husband down with a car, you know.
Yeah, I think that we have to have some kind of men forum. We usually have a man forum here, men's summit here, and the next one we're gonna talk about that. We see what really enrage men to lift their hands against women. We need to have this conversation, real constructive talk between men, so we could build a more progressive, better society if men talking about it and men standing up strong about it. If we homeboy come to us and say, "Yo, man, I put a slap on her," yo, you can't be my friend. This is not locker room talk. You know what I mean? You can't be my friend and you're beating up on a woman. I have sisters, you know. Me and my mother is close, very close, and if anybody were to do anything to my sister, I know the emotion that I would go through. And I
And that
internalize
my
that.
ex-husband didn't have sisters, so it's like he was unable to even fathom that because he didn't have a sister.
Yeah,
You know
different people, but hurt people. We need to break the
exactly,
chain. We need to break the chain, and
exactly,
so that it doesn't continue generation and generation. He
exactly,
went through
exactly.
a trying time in his life. So women, for your boy child, if you are in a relationship and your kids are exposed to these things, you have to please try talk to them. You have to work with them. You have to let them know that this type of behavior is wrong. Or better yet, get out.
Exactly.
Get out, get out, get out,
Exactly.
get out.
Right. You have to. The thing is, when you have boy children, you have to show them that this is not cool. This is not. You can't. You won't tolerate this. So listen. This is what your father. You see that this is what your father did, and this is why I have left.
Yeah.
Right? Because this behavior that he's displaying is not normal behavior. It's not good. It's not healthy. And you should never do this behavior to another woman. So you
Yes.
have to be able, and other people, if you can get other male influence around him too, where your boy children are concerned. You understand? Lucky for me, I have my father. I have my brother who have been influential in my son's life, and my current spouse who has also had to stand up and fill that role, because at the end of the day, as a mother, there are only certain bits of knowledge that I can impart.
Yeah.
Men have to do as well. You
Yeah.
understand?
Absolutely. 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 Listen, Kamala, I appreciate you taking the time and share it with us here. And we're going to continue this conversation. This is a conversation that would not end
Definitely.
here. We need to continue talking about it, men and women, because there are a lot of men who also gets abused very publicly as well. So
Yep.
this is not only
Right.
isolated to men beating women. There are women that beat men. Yeah, and when we hear about it, we laugh. We're like, "Oh, you woman beat
No,
you up."
but it's
It's
true. It's
serious.
it's quite
It,
common. It's quite common.
it's very, 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 very. So we need to look at it from both sides and see how we could start the conversation and start talking about it. But Kamala, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you
My
for taking the
pleasure.
time for coming and chatting with us. I really, really, really appreciate you.
All right. No problem. Take care. It was my pleasure. And I'll share it on my page as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Take
All
care.
right, bye. Yeah, guys, that was Kamala. Yeah, you hear that? All you hear that? All you hear that? All you hear that? Women! I know they say, yo, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to just leave. I get that. I get that. I get that, right?